What's going on, Guardians? It's Tizzle here, and I'm delighted to inform you that you can finally take your Syntheseps off. I've been running Syntheseps for what feels like forever, but with the recent changes to Wormgod's Caress, I finally have a new punchy exotic to use on my Titan. And let me tell you, these gloves are no joke. I did extensive testing for this one, so if you find it helpful, consider dropping a like and subbing to the channel. I have a bunch more testing to do, so if you're into numbers in Destiny, then I am sure you will like those other videos. Anyways, enough self-promo, let's look at the Wormgod's Caress in detail. But first, let's look at what they used to do. They used to increase your melee damage and it would stack up to a 275% damage increase. Basically, exactly how the Winter's Guile on Warlock works now. But in the latest patch notes, Bungie gave them a rework. It is now a meter that increases on melee kills and finishers and decays over time. The meter decays more quickly the more full it is. The meter is broken up into 5 sections which provide escalating glaive and melee damage bonuses. The upper end of the meter also provides escalating weapon damage bonuses. Now, like I said, I did extensive testing out how these work, but the fine folks over at the Destiny Data Compendium already have the exact info on there, and I can confirm the numbers are correct. But rather than dragging the video out and showing you each damage number and breaking it down step by step, I will just talk about the crazy stuff that this can do. However, the background gameplay footage is all my testing, so you can pause at various points to check the math for yourself if you're curious. So first up, let's look at the weapon damage bonus. I was using a Callus mini tool, and you can see the damage ramp up as we get stacks of Burning Fist. That increase to weapon damage is nothing in the first stack, then 20% with 2 stacks, 25% with 3 stacks, 30% with 4 stacks, and 35% with 5 stacks. Now, this is the first important part of the video that I want to harp on. This is a damage bonus much like Blessing of the Sky with Lumina. Blessing of the Sky is a 35% weapon damage bonus, but it will override something like Radiant. This Burning Fist weapon damage bonus effectively overrides your Radiant. I know this because I tested it. In the background footage, you can see a Parasite shot hit for 488,472 damage on Carl when I have Strand on. And it hits for the exact same damage when I have Radiant from Solar. This is important to know, but what will stack with this damage is weapon surges. So you can get a 35% weapon damage boost from Burning Fist meter being full, and then an additional 22% with 3 matching weapon surges. But what is crazy is a debuff also works with this. So Revitalizing Blast from the seasonal artifact allows Solar abilities to debuff champions and bosses. Well, that means it will stack an additional 15% damage. Unfortunately, Carl isn't a champion or a boss, but I swapped to a Void subclass and used Echo of Undermining to debuff him, and we can see the Parasite hits even harder. Another thing that stacks with this, as I made a video about earlier, is Solo Operative. It is 15% more damage for everything you do. This allows our Parasite to hit for a total damage of 815,416 damage, with Worm's Hunger times 20 of course. Worm's Hunger times 20 at base hits for a measly 370,361. So this is a 2.2x damage multiplier. That is crazy. Depending on the boss encounters of the new dungeon, this exotic could absolutely destroy. Keep in mind, you can also use Solar this season for that same 15% weaken from Revitalizing Blast. So now let's look at the melee damage. It scales just as it used to. It gains 55% more melee damage for each stack of Burning Fists, up to 5 stacks, which is 275% more damage. In the Glaive melee, scales 40% more for each stack, up to a max of 200%. And this also works with close to melee on a Glaive. This allows my Glaive to melee for 97,025 damage with close to melee and 5 stacks of Burning Fist. And the exotic Glaive Winterbite can hit for 111,952 damage. These are on red bars, and it scales down on Carl, but still, that is some awesome damage, and if you have something like Devour going, then you will be a force to be reckoned with. I should also note that I do have Banner of War in the Glaive testing, because it is an obvious pairing, and this gives you 25% more Glaive damage on top of the other buffs from Burning Fists. Lastly, we have the Decay of the perk. Your stacks used to just disappear if you didn't get a melee kill every 5 seconds. Now it reduces as so. 3 seconds when you go from 5 to 4, 4 seconds when you go from 4 to 3 and 3 to 2, 10 seconds from 2 to 1, and 9.5 seconds from 1 to 0. This is nice forgiveness, as it allows you to keep some damage bonus for a little while till you can find more adds and get the combo ramping up again. And if you can time that 3 or so second window with the max buffs to get off some high DPS in a short time frame, then you will be handsomely rewarded, like I showed in the Parasite clips. And that is pretty much going to do it for the video. I think this is the perfect rework. It gives Titans the melee power fantasy and has high damage potential with proper setup and strategizing, which is how it should be. Syntheseps are a brain dead and easy choice. Don't get me wrong, I love them, but there is too much reward for too little input. This requires a lot of input and timing, but then you get a great reward when everything lines up. Anyways, I hope you found this video helpful and informative, and if you did, then leave a like on the video. And subscribe for more in-depth testing of everything in Destiny 2. Lastly, thanks for watching if you are still here. I appreciate it a lot. Happy punching, Guardians, and take care.